419 million. That's how many files there are for sale on Adobe Stock today. To make money, you have to find ways to stand out from all this competition. But did you know that Adobe gives you the tools to help you find underserved niches so you can get onto the first and sometimes the only page of search results? Today we're looking at how to do just that. Lately, I've been spending time exploring the search filters that are available on the left side of the screen on the main page of Adobe Stock. I imagine myself as a customer looking for a particular kind of image and making note of how many images pop up for those searches. The numbers on some of these searches have been surprisingly low, and I think present themselves as prime opportunities for you to upload photos, videos, illustrations, or AI images and dominate those niches. Let's dive in and I'll show you what I mean. So I get asked fairly frequently, what subject should I focus on in creating new content, whether it's generative AI or photos, illustrations, what have you. And I always give the same answer. There's lots of research you could be doing. You could be following different business websites, technology websites, finding out what are the trends out there that are hot, up and coming, and then checking on the sites like Adobe Stock to see what kind of competition there already is on these subjects. And it's that second part of the formula that I'm going to dive into today and show you how to do just that using some of Adobe Stock's tools it makes available for us. I'm going to do a generic search, just leaving the search field blank. And this tells us there's 419.5 million files in total at Adobe Stock. I'm going to open up the filters panel here on the left. I want to find out, just for our point of comparisons here, how many images are there. There's 388, nearly 389 million images available on Adobe Stock. We're going to drill down into that number to find smaller numbers of results that you want to focus on as your area of competition. The smaller, the better, so we're going to drill down into possible niches for us to do that. In the filters down the left, we're going to look at a couple of these in particular today. There's lots of different ways you could be drilling down. One of the areas I want to focus on today is race and ethnicity. There's a lot of different choices you can see here that we could be choosing from. Black, East Asian, Hispanic, Indigenous, etc. And we're going to show how that can greatly narrow down the search results in a given topic that is high commercial value and get down into a niche that is small enough that it's good for you to be focusing on. I'm going to start by doing a search on a topic that I know to be a high commercial value one. We've covered this in our last couple of videos. Businesswoman. So 12.4 million, that's a lot for you to be in competition with. If you just uploaded a generic image of a businesswoman, the odds of you breaking through that competition are fairly low unless you drill down, make your image unique somehow. So to make the search more specific and try to drill down into something where there's fewer results, something that we could focus on, let's make the search Black Businesswoman. Now that narrowed the search down to 1.3 million, a smaller number than before, but still a very high number that you'll be in competition with. Is there another way for us to be helping customers find our great images we're uploading of Black businesswomen? And there is. Instead of narrowing the search up here in the search box by typing in Black, we're going to instead choose the filter Black. That narrowed it down quite a bit more, down to 178 million searches that bring up a Black businesswoman. Still a very high number, but it's a much smaller number than we saw a moment ago. Let's make this businesswoman with customer. We're going to go from 178,000 results to 8,600 results. So you can see we're narrowing it down to something that is much more manageable for us to find a scenario in which we could break through with our images. And let's just look at some of the results that pop up here through this filtered search. There are a number of businesswomen interacting in a business situation. A number of these don't actually show them with a customer. So I would say the search results are not ideal for the customer that actually does want to show a businesswoman with a customer. Now, for comparison, let's just look at if we were not using the filters, if we turned off this, unchecked the word Black in the filters and typed in Black here, there's 50,000. So you could see quite a bit difference if the customer is choosing to use the filters as opposed to entering the term in the search box, or if they chose both to use the type in Black businesswoman in the search box as well as checking Black in the filter, gets it down to 2,900. So you can see by using this strategy to envision the scenario where your customer is looking for a Black businesswoman with a customer, to not only use the term black in your keywords, but also to make sure that you are appearing in the filter for black that narrows down the number of images you'd be competing with down to about 20 pages worth of images, much better than a scenario in which you'd be lost in a sea of 200 pages of images. Let's narrow down this search even more, because 2,900 results is still a lot for us to be competing with. We ideally want something that's down into the hundreds. So how might we find something like that? Let's put in Black Businesswoman Garden Center. Okay, here we are down to 109 different image results that show up for the search Black Businesswoman Garden Center. That's, again, using the filter for black. You can see there's a mix here of landscape and portrait or vertical images. Vertical is something that is, of course, a very much still an up-and-coming type of image because there's so much mobile use of images that are bought on Adobe Stock and other agencies. A lot of customers specifically want something that is framed for a vertical orientation that will show up well on a phone. So luckily enough, Adobe does have that as a filter as well. If you clicked on vertical orientation, this now gets the search results down to 27. So here, this seems like a great niche for somebody to be focusing on, showing a Black businesswoman working in a garden center. If you had images like this, you would be guaranteed to show up on the very first page of the search results. Now, you might say this is a very specific niche, meaning a very specific need. How many customers around the world might have a need for Black businesswoman working in a garden center? And I would say, yes, very few. But of those handful of searches that are done around the world for this particular search, you would be guaranteed to show up on the very first page. You'd have a very good crack at getting those downloads if you create some great imagery on this subject using those keywords. So yes, very limited universe in terms of the number of people who need this kind of image, but very high placement for you in those search results. To me, that's a good trade-off that's worth exploring. So the next question is, how do you make sure that your images show up when somebody uses the filter for black or for one of these other race and ethnicity choices? The filter is not using keywords, it's not using a title, it's not using any form of AI that's built into Adobe Stock. What it's using is the releases that the photographer or AI artist uses to upload when they're submitting images that contain somebody who's a real person. So obviously, if you're hiring a model for your photography, you have to use model releases. And on the release form, there is a box for you to check what is the ethnicity of the model. And Adobe Stock is using that information from the model releases to feed its filtering system. Here it is spelled out on a help page at Adobe Stock for contributors, explaining how that filter system works. The ethnicity filter helps you quickly find assets featuring people of specific races and ethnicities. To make its determinations, the filter uses information from model releases submitted by Adobe Stock contributors. It does not use machine learning. To use the filter, select race and ethnicity from the drop-down menu, and then it explains the choices. So for you to take advantage of this opportunity, you have to make sure you're using model releases for the people in your images. But let's say you're using generative AI to create your images. You're not doing photography. You're not hiring real-life models to be featured in your work. What you could be doing instead then is to finding somebody, whether it's a friend, family member, neighbor, coworker, who's willing to allow you to use their face in your imagery to fill out a model release form, let them take a few photos of you and upload them into Midjourney or whatever platform you're using to create your generative AI work, and base those generated images on the face that you've uploaded. This person you're using could even be yourself. If you're a Black woman, if you're a South Asian man, if you're from any of these groups that narrow down searches for customers, you could use yourself, again, use a friend, family member as the basis of those generative AI images, and then upload a release with that person's information. Again, could be your own information. You could be featured in your own images, but what that does is ensure you a spot into these highly targeted search results of sometimes only 27 images on a page. To me, that's an opportunity well worth exploring if, again, you're trying to find opportunities for you to break through all the competition out there with the millions of new images being uploaded to Adobe Stock every week, all the generative AI that's flooding, all the abstract images, all the things that are very competitive, and you'd be lost in the sea of competition. Let's keep exploring with this a little further, and I can show you some other potential opportunities. So IT and computer technology is another area where there's a lot of need for great images. So we're going to clear the filters and type in computer programmer. So right off the bat, we have about 690,000 images of a computer programmer. If we were to type in Asian computer programmer, that knocks it down to 33,000 results. Still a pretty high number of images for you to be competing with if you were trying to create images of an Asian computer programmer. Now, however, if we were to, instead of typing it in, or in addition to typing it into the search box, also use the filters and select East Asia, that gets the number down to 1,876. Still, that's about 18, 19 pages worth of results. You want to drill down even further, create something that would maybe get you onto the very first page of the search results. Instead of this just being a generic computer programmer, let's say network security. So now we have it down to 445 search results. Again, that's about 4 or 5 pages worth of results and 100 per page. Let's narrow it down a bit further. Type in the word hacking. 142 search results. So you can see now we're down to just 2 pages that you could be showing up in the top results page. Now it's showing us 142 results here, but it's also including video. Let's make sure that we're only including images and see what that gets us to. 73 results. So this is a single page of search results. You'd pretty much be guaranteed that you'd show up on this page if you included a model release and checked off that you're using an East Asian model and use these keywords in your image. Again, very specific. It's not a huge potential market, but what you're doing is finding a very small, very targeted need, making sure you show up on the very first page of those search results, giving you a great chance to land that download. And like we did before with the earlier example, these are a mix of landscape and portrait images. Let's narrow it down further by choosing the portrait or vertical orientation. 7 results. And some of these, frankly, are zoomed way out. They're not showing faces. If you created a great image, whether through photography or generative AI, of an Asian computer programmer, IT professional, working on network security to prevent hacking, in vertical orientation, this is the search result page it would end up on if somebody's using those filters. If you create an image better than these, you are almost guaranteed to get that download from the customer. To me, this is a much better approach to figuring out what you want to focus your next image generation on, as opposed to, let's just make more abstract, colorful smoke images, of which there's already so many, hundreds of thousands of those you'd be competing with. On the off chance of somebody actually typing in, I want colorful smoke image, and they see 500,000 results, you're going to be at the bottom. If somebody types in Asian computer programming, network security, hacking, you're going to be right at the top of the list. If you create a great image, you're almost going to be assured of getting that download. So there's 7 results if you are doing a search on vertical. If you were doing horizontal, if somebody wanted the more traditional horizontal image, 66 results. You're still on the very first page of search results. So I would suggest create a couple that are vertical orientation, create a couple that are horizontal orientation. Make sure you're not just cropping the exact same image from horizontal to vertical. That's against Adobe's rules. That would be considered spamming. Don't do that. Create images that are actually optimized for the vertical space, a different image that's optimized for the horizontal space, not just cropping the exact same image. Let's do one more example. We're going to clear out the search results. I'm going to type hire best job candidate. That's a topic that I find to be very high commercial value for my own work. Let's try it out here. So 9,100 results to be competing with. That's not a great opportunity in itself. We want to make it much more of a focused search to look for a better opportunity for us. Let's look up Hispanic or Latinx. We'll go from 9,100 search results and look at this opportunity. So we went from 9,100 search results to 0, basically. Hire best job candidate, filtering it down to Hispanic or Latinx. So if you created images of a Hispanic, Latinx person in a job interview, use those search terms, hire best job candidate, you could be the only search results showing up on this page. Again, that's if you are using the model release form, checking off that your model is Hispanic or Latinx. Again, if you're using generative AI, use an image of yourself if you're Hispanic or Latinx, or a friend, family member, neighbor, colleague, who it allows you to use their face in generating some AI images. Make sure you get that model release form filled out properly. Upload that when you upload the images. Again, you could be the only image showing up for this particular search. If we were, instead of using the filter here, typing up Hispanic in the search results, again, showing up 0 images. So whether you're using the filters or not, this is an example of this will be an opportunity for you to not even have to use a real image of a person and not have to fill out that model release form to be showing up high in the search results, or the only search result in this case. If I remove the word hire and just look up best job candidate Hispanic, okay, now we're down to 62 search results. Still a great high potential here for getting some downloads. Best job candidate Hispanic. There's only 62 results. Kind of shocking to me that it's that low and that this is such a prime opportunity that people aren't jumping on yet. So here's just a golden tip for you to be following up on. Generate some AI content on best job candidate Hispanic, upload them, and see if you're able to take advantage of this great opportunity. And there's so many more out there. We just kind of hit the tip of the iceberg here. See if you can find some great opportunities that other contributors just have not discovered yet. There's a lot of undiscovered spaces out there for you to figure out with these filters. I invite you to jump in and play around with this and see what you can find. So we'll wrap it up there. I hope this was eye-opening for you. It gave you some ideas on files that you can create and take advantage of some spaces that are underserved right now, and maybe even find a new niche that could be a big money earner for you. If you haven't already, please be sure to take my AI survey in the links below and sign up for my newsletter to see the results when they're available. And until next time, I'll see you soon.